Welcome back to Warfield Prepper Chronicles. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating aspects of Viking daily life: how they manage smoke and heat in their homes. If you love history, survival strategies, or practical ways to adapt ancient knowledge today, make sure you subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. Let's get straight into the secret of Viking smoke holes and heat circulation. The Vikings didn't have chimneys. Their longhouses were built with a central hearth, and smoke from the fire had to escape through an opening in the roof, known today as the smoke hole. But this was no random design. The placement, size and construction of the smoke hole were all carefully considered to manage both smoke and warmth efficiently. The smoke hole was often positioned slightly toward the centre of the house, allowing smoke to rise naturally while letting fresh air flow in from gaps around the walls and the door. The Vikings understood that controlling airflow could make the difference between a smoke-filled, uncomfortable dwelling and a longhouse that stayed warm without suffocating its occupants. Vikings were masters of heat circulation. The central hearth wasn't just a cooking space, it was a deliberate heating system. Fire was built in a way that allowed hot air to rise to the ceiling and then spread outward before escaping through the smoke hole. This created a natural convection current that warmed the entire length of the longhouse. The walls and roof were often constructed with insulating materials, thick timber, turf, or wattle and daub, that retained heat even after the fire died down. By understanding this, modern preppers can learn a lot about passive heating strategies that don't rely on modern technology. For instance, in an off-grid cabin or a survival shelter, a central fire pit with a controlled vent can replicate this principle, circulating heat efficiently while reducing smoke buildup. The smoke hole also had another critical function: preservation and ventilation. The rising smoke created a draft that expelled stale air and moisture, protecting the wooden structure from rot. At the same time, it could be adjusted to control how quickly smoke escaped. Vikings sometimes covered the hole with a simple wooden flap or animal hide, letting them regulate airflow depending on weather conditions. In modern survival or homestead applications, this is a principle worth noting. Even a simple, adjustable vent above a wood stove or fireplace can mimic the Vikings' approach, improving heat distribution while keeping the living space safe and dry. Another aspect that's often overlooked is the placement of sleeping areas in relation to the hearth. Vikings, you see, understood that hot air rises, so sleeping platforms were strategically positioned to benefit from residual warmth without sitting directly in the smoke. The lofted areas above the main floor would capture heat during the day, which then gradually radiated down at night. Even today, for anyone designing a small cabin or, well, even a tent in cold climates, elevating sleeping areas and positioning them above a heat source can really improve comfort, reduce fuel consumption, and help maintain good air quality. The design also accounted for multiple uses of smoke. In addition to heat circulation, smoke was used to preserve food and deter pests. By hanging meat or fish near the smoke hole, smoke would circulate throughout the longhouse, gently curing food while keeping insects at bay. For modern preppers, incorporating a dual-purpose ventilation and smoking setup in a survival shelter or homestead kitchen is not only efficient, but, well, also historically proven. A controlled smoke vent over a central hearth can dry herbs, cure meat, and maintain warmth all at once, just as the Vikings did centuries ago. Vikings were also keenly aware of wind direction. Longhouses were often oriented so that prevailing winds would naturally draw smoke up and out of the smoke hole while minimizing drafts across living spaces. In practical terms, this means anyone building a survival shelter today can benefit from understanding local wind patterns. Aligning the structure so airflow enhances natural ventilation, reduces the risk of smoke buildup, and improves passive heating, just as the Vikings optimized centuries ago. In addition, the smoke hole was not static. Vikings could adjust the opening depending on the season. During harsh winters, they might partially cover the vent to retain heat, while in milder seasons they opened it fully to prevent smoke from becoming overwhelming. This adaptive approach is critical for modern survivalists. Installing an adjustable vent or flap in a wood-fired cabin or even a temporary shelter allows control over heat retention, ventilation and smoke dispersal without complex technology. Finally, the longevity of Viking longhouses speaks to the effectiveness of these designs. Many archaeological sites reveal that these structures remained usable for decades, in some cases even centuries, demonstrating that their understanding of smoke, airflow and heat circulation wasn't just trial and error, it was refined knowledge passed down through generations. Applying this principle today, even simple shelters or off-grid cabins can achieve remarkable efficiency in heating and ventilation by following similar strategies. Central heat sources, controlled venting, strategic sleeping positions, and understanding natural airflow. Understanding Viking smoke holes and heat circulation gives us more than a glimpse into history. It offers practical lessons for survival, sustainability, and self-sufficient living. By applying their principles, you can build shelters that are warm, ventilated, and efficient, using minimal resources and maximizing comfort. If you found this insight into Viking engineering valuable, make sure to subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles, like this video, and leave a comment sharing how you might apply these techniques in your own survival or homestead projects. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and preppers. Let's keep the lessons of the past alive and practical.